Hey listeners, last year was our 15th year of the best in food storytelling. As we head into 2025, we're kicking off a contest in collaboration with the podcast series Feast and Harmony and Sixth Man, where you have the opportunity to win a 4-night cruise for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, a food, wine, and spirits festival at sea. When you donate to HRN, you'll be entered for the chance to win a porthole cabin for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, sailing May 5th through 9th, 2025, from Miami to Cozumel, Mexico on Norwegian Gem. You'll also support another year of great food storytelling with a portion of your donation going toward disaster relief for the food and beverage communities within Western North Carolina and Southern California. This cruise is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for culinary adventurers, featuring top celebrity chefs including Jonathan Waxman, Antonio Lafaso, Robert Irvine, and many, many more. There's a myriad of experiences such as restaurant takeovers, live food and mixology demos, themed parties, and more. To enter your chance to win, please visit heritageradionetwork.org/cruise. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 or over to enter. That's heritageradionetwork.org/cruise.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Since 2009, HRN podcasts have been exploring the wide world of food, beverage, and agriculture. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. We've been making cheese in Wisconsin since before we were even a state, which may be one reason why we win so many awards for it. It's what happens when a whole state dreams in cheese. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm your host, Darren Bresnitz. Randy of Good Neighbor Bar and West Altadena Wine and Spirits, among other neighborhood forward operations by Everson Royce, swings by to chat about the Altadena area and how it was affected by the Eaton Canyon fire. We talk about how he and his son were literally on the ground looking up houses as the fire still burned, what it meant to reopen for the community, and what the long road forward looks like. And then we dip into the archives for Milwaukee-born, Brooklyn-based indie electro-funk duo French Horn Rebellion. They play some songs from us from their then recent album. And we chat about what it's like to be brothers in a band together. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
You're so good, I don't know what to do when you dance like that. You gotta show me how your body moves when you move like that. Could we really be having this moment? Could we really be having a time? Stay all night in this moment. Could we, yeah, come on. Gotta do it, I gotta do it, come on.
Randy, welcome to Snacky Tunes. Deeply appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat. And big fan of the bar, big fan of your wine shop, and happy to have you on the show.
Thank you, man. Happy to be here.
Let me just ask right away: how are you doing? How is April? How's the whole team feeling?
I think we feel all right. You know, we're one of the fortunate people, right? Our house is still there. Our businesses are still there. The businesses, the building that holds the businesses is still there. But you know, obviously, given the totality of all that's happened, we are firmly in the minority, and you know, it's super heavy, right? You know, you talk to people, the typical kind of linguistic rhythms of life have taken a massive shift, and the subject matter that one kind of goes through as one talks to someone they know or someone they've met for the first time is, you know, fundamentally changed. And, you know, it's almost like, you know, speaking for Altadena, it's almost like when you're up there, there's a whole new language. There's a whole new set of emotions that are omnipresent that weren't before, and kind of need tending to upon every and each interaction.
Do you find that you are speaking more about it or less about it in these following weeks with people who've gone through it? Or can you just sort of have a shared language and move past, you know, what had happened?
No, I think the core idea, right? If the idea of the fire was a circle,
sure.
And there's, as time goes on, there's a fluidity of all the components of what appears inside that circle, right? So it became, in the very beginning, it was all about, you know, just immediate post-fire pandemonium, unknowns, etc. And now it just morphs into, as days, hours, minutes, weeks go by, the subject matter just inherently changes, right? And, you know, it's like it went from, you know, where is my house? What's up with my house? My house is there. My house is not there. To where am I going to stay? How long am I going to stay there? What is insurance? What is FEMA? Who does what? How do I figure this out? And it just becomes like, it's essentially giant groupthink that's like amalgamating itself like on a minute by minute basis, based on new information delivered to the circle. And then it gets, you know, disseminated and pushed around, and it kind of travels electronically, the information, or word of mouth. So it's very much like a fluid situation of omnipresence with full focus on fire related subject matter.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that. Just, what did you hear? How did you hear? You know, how can I help? What can I learn? I want to go back to some of those earlier days, because you were really on the ground, literally going to check on people's houses once the National Guard came in and people couldn't get up there. What do you remember from those early days? What do you remember from being able to tell people that their house was or wasn't there?
I mean, it started, we'd evacuated like, you know, 3:30 in the morning, you know, that Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, however you want to say it.
Sure.
And we thought we were going to go to Good Neighbor Bar and, West Altadena Wine, that building at 2311 Lincoln. But it, you know, once we got down the hill, it was like, you know, Armageddon, and we weren't going to go there. So we went to our business, Silver Lake Wine in Silver Lake, and we stayed here. And then as soon, like right around like when the sun came up and the wind stopped, and you know, it became kind of clear that the fire might actually be kind of slowing down. I got a call from a friend who was like, yo, I'm up at like Mountain View in Lincoln, and my friend's house is on fire, and I can't get to my house. They're not letting me go up. And I was like, one of my son's Bones, me and Bones left here and drove up there. And I was like, I know a way that we can get to your house. He lived on like Mount Curve, and like, you know, right by Farnsworth Park on that north side of Altadena, kind of north central, and right off Lake. And so from that, we like, you know, we drove around a little bit more, and just started like, it was like one of those things where you see people. I mean, this is when the houses are still on fire. You'd see people, you know, stand in front of their house, and just, you get out, like hug them or whatever. And then, so we left, we went, we left. And then the next day, I was just, people were saying like they couldn't get in. And I knew this kind of like drive up a one-way street type way to get in. And so the first day we just kind of drove around and like, I was just texting people like, what's your address, where you live at? I'll go check. And then it became very clear once the National Guard went there that a lot of people were abiding by the rules and not going in. And I was like, oh, we can still get in for sure. And then that's when that's when we put the thing on Instagram about, we go and check on your house for you. And so we did that. It was like this, like kind of like very much, how do I say it? It was a fairly sophisticated operation, doing like using delivery software, using people at Silver Lake Wine. Me and April were in the car. And so we just made a decision that we were going to go, because we felt like, at that moment, we felt like they had bottled water covered, right? We felt like there was a lot of people handling like the closed donations, figuring food out, stuff like that. And we were like, what can we do? That we have a saying, which is like, try to do for one person what you wish you could do for everyone. So we started to put on Instagram, and then, we made a decision. We were going to find people's address. We were going to take a picture. Yeah. We were going to send them the message, all lowercase, either it's here or I'm so sorry. And, that was the deal. And then it became, our electric cars died. We texted people. We borrowed gasoline cars. We would stash them inside behind the thing, so that next day we could get in. Eventually the way we were kind of coming in got, they got hip to that, so we didn't come in that way anymore. Yeah. So we would hike in through the watershed, through like people's backyards, and then just drive the day. And we, thankfully, we went to hundreds and hundreds of houses.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And sent the people the stuff, and and then every day we would find one house that like it made no sense why it was there. Like it was just None. And so that person, I would have the people that were running the Instagram at Silver Lake Wine, I would have them message that person, ask if I could talk to them. And then I would just call them on the phone. I'd be like, listen, I know your house is there and I'm so happy and this, that, and the other, but I just want to tell you, like, today we've seen a lot of houses burned, and we saw, some houses that weren't, but your house not being burned, like, it makes no sense. So I just wanted to let you know that your house is there, and it's like, I can't believe it's there. Like when we pulled up, we were like, I can't believe this house is here. So
yeah. I mean, driving around, the randomness of it is just as eerie and spooky as the streets that are completely decimated, because it just makes no logical sense of how it just weaved around some houses.
Yeah, we after a few days in there, and after a few days, we were like one of the only non-emergency vehicles in there. And after a few days, we just came up with a quick theory. It was kind of a 4-point. Oftentimes, if there was a house or a cluster of houses, they were there kind of like because of one of 4 reasons. 1, God showed up. 2,
sure.
2, it had a tile roof. 3, it had like that mid-century kind of roof that actually had like rocks and stuff on it. It wasn't your typical like shingled roof. It had like gravel or rocks on it. Or the 4th reason was someone stayed and someone with the hose put out spot fires, put out, little minor fires of the house. Those were the 4 reasons. The 3 reasons were God, roofs, and people that stayed back. And, that was our that's still our theory as to why so many the houses that are there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what you can really only go on, and only if you see it. Now, having both your home and then your business in Altadena, we had Zach from Prime Pizza on here, and he was chatting about what that means when you pull it to the larger community level. How do you feel today? I don't even know, what is it, 6 weeks past it?
Yeah.
What have you seen from the community in the last few weeks? As we've gotten a little bit further away from the fire.
I mean,
itself?
it's just inherently heavy at all times. It's just super heavy, right? I mean, it is. You speak to and Zach, is very familiar with this. Prime Pizza essentially is a bookend. If Altadena was a bookcase, Good Neighbor Bar's on one side with the West Altadena wine, and then Prime's on the other side. And it's just, I mean, I continue to feel the audacity of hope. I feel for all the people. We've been fortunate enough to build a lot of stuff. Buildings, not from ground up, but major construction. And I just know how hard it is. And so to answer kind of your question from earlier, how have things changed? Now we are very much I'm talking to people that, you listen to them and you're like, okay, I think that I've kind of let's talk to this person. Their insurance seems good. They've got the right SBA loans in their back pocket. They have a little bit of access to more capital if necessary. They seem motivated still. They've done the phase 1 EPA cleanup. Phase 2's on the way. They've talked to some architects. I think these people actually might make a go at it. So now we just talk to them on a one-on-one level about okay, these are the things you need to think of that you've never thought of before.
Sure.
When it comes to building stuff, because that's the thing that we're worried about, that I'm worried about. And we're going to do everything we can to teach as many people what we know. And if we don't know the answers, we'll find people to do. But it's even in the most romantic, optimistic, well-capitalized, flush with money times, building stuff is hard.
Yeah.
And, let alone with the emotional baggage of thinking about what's happened, thinking about how life has changed, thinking about how everything special to you is gone. And now to go through this Herculean task of this unknown task of building something again, now we're very much switching into just giving people little tidbits of information. And once we give them the information, that information will become even more kind of toned down and down to one or two effective sentences. But for Altadena, it's tough. Zach and I actually this past Saturday drove around and we counted all the businesses were open. We made notes of all the businesses that were open, and right now there's only 48 businesses open in Altadena. And there's some that could conceivably one day possibly reopen, but currently they don't have water, they don't have power, or they're too inside the burn zone where there's just too much. They're just surrounded by decimation and whatever. And so it's it's one of those things where just every day it kind of sinks in a little deeper. It's essentially it's almost like if the Eaton fire was the Mayflower and it Plymouth rocked it into your brain, and it's this whole new zone is growing in your mind to try to figure out this totality of it, and every day it kind of gets a little bit bigger, and it's just super heavy. I mean, even though 6 weeks in, when you're talking to someone, all right, we're about to cry here. And then, it's one of those, I guess the easiest way to say it in a lot of ways is I always say that I got sons, right? And they're 14. So I teach them all kinds of stuff. I figure school's got the school stuff and I'll teach them the life stuff. And I always tell them communication and talking to a lot of people is like an art. And it's it's like an art. And I was but anyone can talk to a lot of people and say a lot of words. That's not the art part. The art part is to be able to walk around a room of 100 people and talk to all 100 people. And when you go from one person to the next person, never have that person that you just walked away from ever feel like you've abandoned them. But in this scenario, when you're talking to someone, if you start talking to someone, you might talk to them for 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
Because you cannot abandon or walk.
Yeah.
Nah, because what are you going to do? So they're and then the roof caved in. You can't be hold that thought.
Hold that thought. I mean? Let me go get a drink or something.
So all of a sudden you're talking to someone and you're just you're in. That's it. You're there for them, and that's just that's a very, it reminds me, like April and I were in New York for 9/11 visiting, but we were there for that. And it's very much that, like, you meet someone on the street and all of a sudden you have like this common experience that that all the rules of typical communication are out the window, and this is what we're going to do right now, and this is what we're going to do until one day we're not doing it anymore, but that will just be decided by time.
Yeah, I hear you. I want to talk about the businesses because I was at Good Neighbor Bar and I was at the wine shop this weekend. I'm actually staring at the Altadena Locals print right now.
Thank you. Thank you for showing up.
Oh, yeah. But I want to talk about that reopening and what it means to reopen right now as a bar, especially one that's actually the only bar left in Altadena. But let's take a quick musical break. We have a song from the archives here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
I step outside and make my way on from Carolina. Anyway, the weather blows, home is where I find you. With the ache inside to ride the mighty wind and nothing more. Oh, I just want to see you there, sleeping on my floor. Well, I don't really like you, I just want to kiss you. I don't know how to love you, but some days I miss you. I just want to see you there, sleeping on my floor. With the ache inside to ride the mighty wind and nothing more. And I'm calling on angels now, I want them to set me free. I hope that they're real, though sometimes it feels like nobody's listening. Went walking. I hate those wicked words they'd say when they started talking. He was headed for the open road, she turned and slammed the door. Said learning love ain't easy, child, when all you see is war. And I'm calling on angels now, I want them to set me free. I hope that they're real, though sometimes it feels like nobody's listening. Stars shone bright and high, and I can't help but wonder the way that the world goes by. But I hope that they're real, and I hope they can hear me cry. Down and pushing on the levees. This water's getting high again, these hands are getting heavy, and we are all just hypocrites vying for a shore. With the ache inside to ride the mighty wind and nothing more. But she came and shook me tenderly one night while I was drinking. The alcohol was quick as sand and took me down a sinking. The sinking took me praying and I fell upon the floor. I said I'm waiting for my time to go, please tell it to me, Lord. And I'm calling on angels now, I want them to set me free. I hope that they're real, though sometimes it feels like nobody's listening. And the moon and the sun and the stars shine bright and high.
Welcome back to Snacky Tunes. We're chatting with Randy Clement. And, I was at Good Neighbor Bar Saturday night for my new going out hours of like 6:30 to 8:30 or 9, because the idea of staying out super late during this time is just, I can't. And if you didn't know anything had happened, if you just gone up Lincoln and stopped at Good Neighbor, it was packed. The vibe was cheerful and things like that. But obviously that's not really, I think, the whole story. So I'd love to hear about what it was like, the decision to reopen, and what business has been like in opening since you decided to let people come back in and drink.
So that building, 2311 Lincoln Ave, that has Good Neighbor Bar and West Altadena Wine inside of it, was very fortunate, mostly because, beyond just not burning, it has Pasadena water, right? So the water supply was never kind of in question. So we very soon after the fire, we got gas, electricity, and water, and we had little to no smoke damage. So, we did all the things like super fancy air purifiers, like on the roof, all the, we cleaned it, whatever. And then we opened, and, we decided, like, we waited like an extra week to do it. And then when we did it, it was, people showed up, and people are showing up, and it's heavy. I mean, not to say that over and over again, but it's just like
I think you have to, though. Yeah, because people want you to be like, oh, cool. Like, you're settled, or your doors are open and it's been 6 weeks, like, move on. It's like, no.
People, it is heavy. People are like mentally, like, unstable in many ways, like they need help. And so we figured that opening up the wine store, opening up the bar would just be a place for people to go and like have commonality, outside. Essentially, like, every hotel on the periphery of Altadena is essentially an eat and fire refugee camp, right? I mean, it's just like, and so just to get out of one's house and to go to another setting, to have like a site-specific installation that's riddled with like hope and like kind of connectiveness to thy fellow citizen is helpful. It's also terrifying. We're afraid that, as April says, she has great concern that our businesses, along with all the other businesses in Altadena, could die a very slow death. People are showing up, and they're going to keep showing up, and we're gonna work with the county and try to do things COVID style to make it so that we can have, like, Good Neighbor Bar and West Altadena Wine have like a, in our parking lot, like a wine garden, cocktail garden, like, all, kind of push and do these things that we did during COVID to survive these hard pivots, like kind of wisely opt out of ritual. But it's scary. Like, it is busy on Friday and Saturday, but the other days you never know, right? Because what happens is, you'll be in the bar on a Friday, and someone will show up and they'll be like, oh, like, I'm so glad you're open. Like, I'm so glad you're here. And, obviously vice versa from us to them. And it's like, we ask them, like, so what are you up to? They're like, oh, I just came to sift. I came up here to sift to see if I could find anything. And then I'm going back down to my Airbnb in Manhattan Beach, right? Or I'm heading back to Miracle Mile, or I'm going to Venice, or wherever people are, because after, not to ever forget, the Palisades. It's like, this isn't just us. It's the Palisades in Malibu and all that over there too. And there's just tens of thousands of people that need a place to live. So you can't be choosy. And it's like, people just find a place where they find a place. And, the people that were showing up before the fire, they might live now, 60 miles away. So they're not going to come through on a Tuesday. So, we need people to show up. And, one thing that, to speak for Prime Pizza and for West Altadena Wine and Good Neighbor, if I hear a lot of people say, they don't want to come up to Altadena because they don't want to see it, right? They don't want to see all the.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah,
I thought it would be more like the air quality.
Well, no, they I mean, for a variety of reasons, right?
Sure,
like that's
sure,
one of them. But also, a lot of people just don't want to see it, and I get that. And one thing, I can say is that, like, if you come off the 210 freeway and you want to either go to, West Altadena Wine, Good Neighbor Bar, Prime Pizza, Home State, Ferrazani's, Stumptown Coffee, like all those businesses that are open, you don't have to see any burned out anything.
No,
you can come up to 210 and you can go north. And if you stop, if your furthest point north is Prime Pizza, or your furthest point north is Good Neighbor Bar and West Altadena Wine, you can come to our businesses and you will not see one burned down house. If you go north, keep going, you will see burnt stuff. But if you want to come and support, and we need you to come and support, and you don't want to see the devastation, you can do that. And I get it. Like, people don't want to see like the totality of it. I mean, I would suggest if you think you could bear it, I think you should go up and see it. I think everyone should see it. I think that people should understand. I think that, like, it's like I have, for me, it's like, I grew up in in the United States, right? Like, in America, like our seventh or eighth wonder of the world or whatever it is the Grand Canyon. So your whole life, they tell you about the Grand Canyon. Like, you might think, you might be like, you might be kind of iffy on the Sphinx or whatever, the pyramids, but you're like, Grand Canyon, like, I got it covered. But then you show up to the Grand Canyon and you're like, whoa, this is way more than you people told me about. And that's what this fire is. It's like, you can see a picture, you can hear a story, you can see a drone shot, you can see whatever. But unless you go and see it, you will never understand it. But again, you don't have to go see it to come to Good Neighbor Bar or West Altadena Wine or Prime Pizza or anywhere south of that. Any businesses south of those points, if it's too heavy, you don't want to do it, just come to us, because we need the business. We need to see people, and also the people, the community want to see people. They want to see that other people are there to support, like with heartbeats, not just with text messages. And I think that, like, all of us as human beings, whether our house burned or it didn't, whether we live in Altadena or we live in Echo Park, whether we live in the Palisades or San Pedro, like, we should help these people whose lives have been turned upside down, inside out, and backwards, and they all need our help.
No, I completely get you on that. I felt like restaurants back in the day, there was this, and I think for LA, you probably have to go back before COVID, but there was this yearly rhythm. Like, there were slow periods, but then you made your nut on different months, and it was up and down, but there was rhythms and a cadence of the year. And now I feel that, like, if you get on that downward slope, it's almost impossible to get back to a plateau even. Have you seen that? Because, sure. I look at like a Shin's Pizza or some other places where it's like once you start going down, it's really tough to get back up.
Yeah, I mean, we have places in the Arts District like Emerson Royce Bar. We have, Hippo and Triple Beam and Highland Park Wine and Highland Park. And, it's like, I mean, and that's one thing. And it's like, before the fire, it wasn't like the city and the economy of Los Angeles was like, AAA, A+, like going hard. And like, it wasn't like Euphoria times. It was already like not looking like amazing out there. And obviously we're not talking about that now because the fire's happening and there's other things in the news cycle, but don't get it twisted. The Palisades in Altadena burning did not fix the pre-existing, sluggish, unhealthy economy. And so, and I agree with you. It's like, I always tell my sons, like, the thin, like in American culture, it's like being hungry is like a very positive kind of attribute to possess. Being desperate is like a very unpositive attribute to possess. And the thinnest line the thinnest line between anything is the line between desperation and hunger. Like just it's so razor thin. You go from one to the other. If you're desperate, people look at you different. If you're hungry, people follow you. And for us, the motivation is just to stay hungry and to keep the whole the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately mindset, and just keep pushing. But yeah, I mean, it's we don't want, because that's the thing. I mean, just to zoom out a little bit, to pull the camera out, it's like you've got the people I talked to on Saturday night who are going to rebuild their house. They seem, I think they can do it. I really do. I'm going to keep talking to them, and I'll talk to as many people as possible to give them pointers and this is and that's. But I fear for the moment where it's 8 months from now, they're actually kind of beginning to build their house. It's getting really tough. It's getting really tough. Other people who said they're going to build aren't building. Yeah, and I know. They hear that West Altadena Wine closed, or Good Neighbor Bar closed, or Prime Pizza closed. And then they would be like, well, what am I doing this for anyway? If it's all closing, then why am I going through this hell? Right. And so I just think that the importance of not losing any businesses that have reopened is so important just to the overall mindset of the community. Palisades too. It's if a business can reopen, the county, the city, the state need to do whatever they can to keep those businesses open, to assist. The business owners need to be hungry, innovative, and willing to pivot, of course. But at the same time, everyone needs to band together, because these businesses in these communities are giving the people that need to rebuild, want to repopulate, reason and more reason to do so.
Well, that's about as powerful as it's going to get. If people want to come to the bar, and I've done this, bought gift certificates online for the wine shop, where can they go? How can they just see your hours, get involved, things like that? What's the best way to get all the information? I
mean, you can go to, at Good Neighbor Bar Altadena on Instagram, at West Altadena Wine and Spirits on Instagram. You can go to westaltenawine.com. You can go to goodneighborbar.com. And yeah, I mean, we're gonna be doing as much innovative, activative, benevolent, helpful, nonstop, hope, optimism, everything, all the time we can, every day.
Amazing. Well, congrats to you for just having this push and for everything you've done. I'll be back in probably before I know it. And big shout out to your staff on Saturday night.
If I could say one thing.
Of course.
Okay, great. So we are going to do something at West Altadena Wine. It is going to launch in the coming weeks, and it is an insane idea. But what we are going to do is we are going to take orders all week long up till Saturday at midnight. And then every Sunday, starting in a few weeks, every Sunday from West Altadena Wine, we are going to deliver to the entirety of Los Angeles County. All 4,084 miles, all 500 zip codes, all 88 cities. So for the people that want to support West Altadena Wine but are so far away, we are going to be taking orders online through the website. And again, it hasn't launched yet, but it will in the coming days. And we will deliver to the entirety from up like Mojave windmills to San Pedro shipping yards to San Dimas water parks to the Ventura County line. Every Sunday, starting in a few weeks, we are going to, like that Johnny Cash song, I've Been Everywhere, Man. Like, we are going to push West Altadena Wine into the totality of the county as a measure to try to keep it alive.
I love it. Well, we will, once you post, you can also go to my personal Instagram, Darren Bresnitz, because I've been reposting everything that you guys have been posting. And there's still prints available for the Altadena locals, the flowers and native plants, if you go to the wine shop. Thank you so much. We have another song from the archives and then a live performance here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
closer to the beast that dwells inside my spine. I can feel the night tells me tales I knew so well, tried to hide. Squandered all our sleep in all bad dreams. When I need you in my head and wrapped around me, we've been laying here for too long. My limbs barely have the strength to hold you down. There'll be this council. I will leave you. I will leave you sleeping sound. I can feel the night draws me closer to the beast that dwells inside my spine. I can feel the night tells me tales I knew so well, tried to hide.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. There's a reason when you think of Wisconsin, you think cheese. Cheese is a huge part of Wisconsin's history and future. In Wisconsin, the state of cheese, the tradition of cheese-making excellence began 180 years ago, before Wisconsin was recognized as a state. Immigrants traveled to settle in this lush green hills of Wisconsin, bringing their cheese-making traditions with them. These storied skills, combined with the freshest milk available, created a cheese-making culture that is uniquely Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 1,200 cheesemakers, many of whom are third and fourth generation, continue to pass on old-world traditions while adopting modern innovations in cheese-making craftsmanship. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
Welcome back. We are live in studio with French Horn Rebellion. Boys, how are you?
Hey.
Good.
Oh, good.
How you doing?
Good. You want to go around the room and introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'm Robert. I'm the
David.
French horn player. It's David.
Oh, I was doing it quick because, it's a radio show. We got to keep people's interest and all that.
Okay, Robert.
David.
Zach.
Zach's the quietest member of the group.
The quietest.
But he has the biggest stomp box, though.
Proper.
Oh.
Brothers. This is a family show. We just had a father-son on.
I saw that.
Darren and I are obviously twins, and you guys are brothers. So the inevitable question is, how is it working with family, especially within a creative endeavor?
Complicated.
Always.
And exciting.
Well, your family is, they're the best. They're your greatest asset and your greatest, adversary at the same time. So
it's everything and everything. I mean, that's the only way I'd have it, though. It's like to have everything. Why would you want everything?
Right. I mean, you also feel that you move totally in step with that. When it works, it's almost effortless. When it doesn't work, you're like, remember that time when you were 7 and you did that thing? Because I do.
Yeah. Then that subconscious shit there, or I can't say the words.
You can. It's internet radio.
Oh, great. That bologna sausage that you feel subconsciously about that time when in great injustices happen when you're kids.
The great travesty of when you took the last bite or didn't do the dishes.
There was like a California Raisin character that we had, like figurine, that we fought over relentlessly. I just remember this because we were at, where was I? Up north a little bit. and we were at Antique. Really boring story. Sorry, I mentioned it. Anyway, California Raisin. Remember that?
Do you actually remember
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's too young.
That's the best part is that one tends to remember and the other is like, I have no idea what you've been holding on to. And you should have said something like 17 years ago and we could have solved this.
Well, I remember the California Raisins, but I don't remember.
You don't remember the
conflict
toy?
I remember the fighting over it.
I remember eating a lot of raisins.
And were you two in separate musical projects? Well, I know, Robert, you were in the Chicago Civic Orchestra.
Yeah, so I played classical horn. I went to Northwestern in Chicago. I played some freelance out there and played in all sorts of groups, like the Chicago Civic Orchestra, which was really great. And
would you say that you're classically trained?
Yeah, so I'm a classically trained horn player.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
You know, and but David was the one that kind of got me into doing production. So when we were in high school, he had his friend. He had a buddy in high school that his name's Zach Meyer, and they would get on tape, 4-track tape.
We had a multi-track cassette. You could get 4 of yourself at the same time. If you ping pong record, you get infinite amount of tracks at that time. Well, that's ain't true at any time. But.
So did you both get lessons growing up, or did you kind of go more towards the classically trained and you just did production and messed around?
Well, we both went to school for it, unfortunately. I went for composition. And Robert went for horn performance. So we were well schooled. What we got from it, is debatable. But I think that what we really found ourselves engaging with was how can we make this that we love relevant to now versus, what we were learning or the historical context, which is all great, obviously important. But I think that next step is like, well, how do you make it meaningful to you now? And I think that's when French Horn Rebellion came about, where this is like, we're going to take the stuff that we like about all the things that we do. For me, on my side, it was like music production and composition, Robert's side, horn performance, and then music production, music composition, obviously.
And were you ever in separate musical groups that fizzled out and you then joined together?
You want to talk about your Ben Folds 5 cover band in high school?
I was in the Ben Folds 5 cover band, and I played piano, and I sang really high, and I couldn't sing high.
What was the name of the cover band?
Well, I had a different bunch of, but one was called the Cover Band, Kover.
Classic with a K.
Yep. And I don't even know if we had a name. It was just like the best bassist in the school, the double bassist. I was like, hey, can you play electric bass? She's like, yeah, electric bass is easy. Like all classical kids think everything that's rock and roll is easy. So it was her and me and then this guy. The only drummer I could find in my high school really liked metal. So we would play Ben Folds songs to that's what I wanted to play. And then we would play like some like Slipknot and stuff that he wanted to play. But we would do it on piano. And it was kind of a weird combo.
We had fun.
But we had a good time. David in high school did a lot of
slow jams.
A lot of ladies were like, David, I need somebody to play guitar.
I like the slower tempo.
Can you play guitar? Can you play piano?
Oh, yeah. Well, then there was the whole thing when
talent show every year. David's playing piano, and then the girls
help him out.
On my own, pretending he's beside me, and then it's David playing piano for like 6 different girls that are all doing the same song.
I mean, you got to go where the money is.
It worked out.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. Can we hear a song?
Absolutely.
Sure. Speaking of singing, I'm going to try to sing now.
What are you going to play? It's just all Les Mis covers today. What are you?
Oh no! Wait, what does he go?
Who am I?
Who am I?
Condemn this man to slavery.
Yeah.
Pretend I do not see his agony.
When I said, I can do.
Sorry, I got really emotional, especially when the crowd got in there.
Yeah, I mean it's a massive audience. What are you guys going to play for us first?
Actually, I think we just heard it earlier, the full, production version. We're here doing unplugged.
Yeah.
Or more unplugged, a different arrangement of the song The Right Time. So we've got David on keyboard, Zach's going to play bass, and we're all going to be clapping and singing. And
Robert's going to try to play the horn.
French horn. I'm going to try to sing.
All right, here we go.
I got a friend with a lot of ambition. He don't got all the right education, but He don't need anybody's permission. It's always alright on Saturday night. He's in love with a girl whose reputation is showing up alone without a boyfriend. And every time they miss their connection, 'cause he don't know she's ready to go. No, no. Is it ever really the right time to fall in love? And so she's dancing all alone in the moonlight, and he's lighting up the sky like a firefly, a firefly. Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be the right time to fall in love? Then she smiles and she says that she's leaving. She don't have to give him a reason. There's no way that'll wait another season. He brought her in close and told her that most of all, is it ever really the right time to fall in love? And she's dancing all alone in the moonlight, and he's lighting up the sky like a firefly, a firefly. Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be the right time to fall in love? She's dancing all alone in the moonlight, and he's lighting up the sky like a firefly, a firefly. Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be? Will it ever really be the right time to fall in love? All right.
Did someone mention classically trained?
A little classically trained, guys.
little classically
Just a little
trained.
bit.
Didn't we end up naming our current album also?
I think that might be the case.
I think it's out now too, right?
I believe we have an album that is out and about.
On Ensemble Records.
It's on Ensemble Records, a very classical name,
true.
too.
Very
Yeah.
classical name. It's a follow-up to the Fooling Around EP. So what came from the EP that inspired the record, or what followed from that allowed you to write the full name?
I think with Fooling Around, we were kind of fooling around a little bit.
I mean, your names are giving away a lot of what to expect.
But then with Classically Trained,
That's when we
feel like-
mastered the yacht rock.
yeah, that's when yacht rock.
I think what happened is that
Love.
we have done all sorts of music. I think we started in disco, and then we moved to New Jack Swing on our second record. And then on the last record, we were trying to kind of figure it out. And I think what happened was that we discovered that we really like yacht rock, which sounds
The
ridiculous.
natural next step.
So
The obvious next step.
it's kind of so the Classically Trained takes into account, and a lot of people have said this about the record, which I think is really cool, is that like we're taking into account all this stuff: disco, New Jack Swing, yacht rock, funk, and we're putting it all into one record, and so it's classically trained. But the
a lot of
process
R&B too.
Yeah, the process of getting there is
Blue
kind
Eyed
of fooling
Soul.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been our jam from the beginning, is we get excited about what kind of genres we can mash up together and then make it feel like it's something that is relevant at the moment that we're doing it versus something that's just about something from the 80s or just about something from the 70s, but like integrate a lot of what's going on with like glitch pop or house music or future bass or whatever is like, you know, new stuff, tropical house.
Are there any records from your shared youth that inspired this record or collective reference points?
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, you just heard the Beach Boy
The
harmonies
Beach
there.
Boy Beatle thing, I think, is obviously huge for everybody, but big for us. And excuse me. And then I think a lot of jazz inspiration. I was a huge jazz guy in high school. I loved that stuff.
And Davis, Coltrane, that kind of.
John Coltrane and Miles Davis, all the regular, you know, people. And then I think we got in. We didn't realize all the stuff that we were listening to as kids because we grew up in a household that actually there was no pop music being played.
We had to go into the basement to listen to our MC Hammer tapes.
Yeah, and they were given to us as birthday gifts only
by peers outside of the family.
Outside the family.
What was the family listening to, or what was the reasoning behind no pop music?
Well, Tchaikovsky, Beethoven, Mozart.
Yes, almost only classical music and show tunes.
Yeah, and Broadway show tunes had a okay. I don't know how they got in there.
It's because of the moral integrity of that stuff is a little bit higher.
So it came from a moral high ground?
We're from Milwaukee, which is a pretty conservative place, so...
What was your favorite show tunes growing up? I know we already covered Les Mis. I'll go first. Mine was Into the Woods.
Oh, great one.
Well, Sondheim, well, they're speaking of morality, but I mean, I feel like that was like good examples there in the Sondheim tradition.
I think probably...
Really smart stuff with heart.
Jesus Christ Superstar is definitely my number one, mainly because it sounded like a rock and roll record.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The original recording in the 60s, you see.
The 70s. I thought the 70s.
It was late 60s, early 70s.
Early 70s.
But they had like all the inspiration from the, you know, what was going on with rock and roll and, you know, I guess funk in a way.
The original Cash recording from the 60s or 70s.
Highly emotional.
It's really cool because it sounds like a classic rock record.
Yeah.
And David, your favorite Broadway musical or show tune? We can even go track specific if you would like.
Oh, gosh, I'm not prepared. Does Disney count?
Disney's totally fine.
David likes Disney. He goes there every year still.
What?
He went there for his honeymoon.
That's fine. Darren goes almost every weekend.
Nice.
Well, they do make it easy with the trip. Never mind.
See, he knows. He knows all the deals.
If you go off peak, it's better.
David, I know you also own a studio, You Too Can Woo. How much of the record was done in there, if any, and what type of freedom did that give you to explore your yacht rockiness?
At You Too Can Woo, we've been building for years now, like that space.
Will you ever be finished?
Well, no. But it's just getting more and more exciting every next step that we take. So recently we have a 5-person team plus 7 people. So what was really awesome about this album is that we got to use everyone's talents, and it was like a cumulative kind of group effort to do it. So, I mean, some of it was done at studio, some was done at Robert's apartment, some was done at my apartment, but it was pretty much like one of the best group efforts I feel like we've ever done.
And what are the positions that make a good balanced studio? What now is really allowing you to spread your producer wings?
I think it's the trust that you put into your collaborators. Like Zach, for instance, you know, he started just as a friend like a couple years ago, and now he's been playing bass with French horn for a while, and now he's a full-time part of the studio, and like just getting to know him from the time, being friends, and like, you know, I don't know, chit-chatting over beers and like music that we love and all that kind of stuff. The trust that when we can cultivate together then like makes the creative process so fluid and it's fun, you know.
Can we hear another song?
Absolutely.
What are you going to play for us now?
Maybe like oldie. Huh?
We'll do an old one. An oldie but a goodie. So the first one is The Right Time, the lead single off of Classically Trained. This next one is This Moment, which is off of our first album ever from 2010.
Way back when.
Music. Way back. And it lends itself very nicely to this arrangement. And it's called This Moment. Oh. So we're going to give that a shot.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you'll spin right to
'cause you're so good. I don't know what to do when you dance like that. You gotta show me how your body moves when you move like that. Could we really be having this moment? Could we really be having a time? If we could stay all night in this moment, could we, yeah, come on. Gotta do it. I gotta do it. Come on. Could we really be having this moment? Could we really be having a time? If we could stay all night in this moment, could we?
One of the other great things about the French Horn Rebellion is your music videos.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
I really, really love them, especially the entrapment high scene reference in the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that image is seared into most people's brains.
Yeah.
Over a certain era.
Oh, yeah.
You're so right about that.
Well, it's classically trained. I think the album takes a lot of influence from. So the visual element is to take advantage of all the stuff that we grew up really enjoying and thinking was really cool. So
and
entrapment.
Ariel, the director on that, was totally keyed into that same kind of like zone.
Yes. So Ariel Fisher is her name, is the director. Amazing director. She's out in Los Angeles. And we actually shot that in Los Angeles with her.
It had an LA vibe to it.
Yeah, it's the alleyways, you know.
The stunt doubles.
David got a stunt double on that one. That's because I didn't need one, you know?
Yeah. That
So I
was
can do my
really
own
cool,
stunts.
by the way.
That's a brother dig. That's a straight up brother dig, and I'm going to call it like I see
Oh,
it.
yeah, you know what I mean?
I don't mind. That's
I don't
fine.
need a
I don't even
stunt
hear it
double.
anymore.
You know, I
How
can do
did
flips
you-
on my own.
How did you find Ariel, and how did that visual element come into the process?
So Ariel, this is pretty. This is a long story. There's a guy named Tom Dunkley from GBH. Okay, he's a guy around town who does parties.
all the biggest
He's
parties
a friend of
in
mine.
the-
throws
We
the
know
biggest
Tom.
party. Everybody knows Tom.
Everyone knows
So
Tom. There
you go.
Tom knew this guy named Mishka randomly. This guy Mishka was in town for an ad, and he had extra
I
camera
think it was
gear.
through MJ. Did you know MJ? MJ was
Through
Mishka's
MJ?
friend. Yeah.
And then Mishka?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mishka then did a music video for Deidre in the Dark, which is David's wife's project, and which is an amazing project. And then he did a video from French Horn Rebellion for California. And then Mishka introduced to his whole team, who then introduced us to Ariel.
Right. They got a team called Whitelist right now. Before that was Everdream. And this is another great crew of collaborators, directors, peoples. And we found Ariel a part of their crew. It really was like perfectly keyed into the visual aesthetic and totally got all the references. And then she was in charge of just making it real.
And just effortless.
Effortless.
Yeah.
She just did it.
I don't
And it
know
was
how.
amazing.
I don't know how. It's amazing, right? Because like, you know, we never had a video quite as good as The Right Time before that. I maybe Fooling Around was the one she did before that.
I really liked Fooling Around.
She also did that
I like
one.
the Mom's Night In.
That was
video game.
Ariel's first video with us, so she did Fooling Around and The Right Time.
Oh, perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
you can see they're visually tied together. The Mom's Night In game, amazing.
Yeah.
Where did you find the moms?
Ariel
found the moms.
Where is she? We gotta get her on the phone.
Yeah, let's
How did
call
she
her up.
find? I don't know. I think
She deserves a whole interview on her own because she really.
yeah, like out of nothing, like
nothing
she created
created
those things and all those ideas that perfectly went with the music. I felt like the whole like in terms of understanding where the music is coming from. I feel like the visuals that she's put together really kind of like help you understand.
And I feel from watching them, they are the perfect visual complement to the music that you're making. Sometimes the videos are so far removed from what you seem to be about, but they seem to be so in step from the music that's coming out on the new record and the EP. They just seem like the right complements for what you're doing.
Thanks. Yeah, we're pretty jazzed on them.
So what's up next? Record's out. Any tours, show dates, back in the studio, finishing the studio?
We have some very exciting future plans. I don't know. Can we talk about it? Is that something we can...
Well, we're going to be going on tour, but it won't be until next year. But we are in the process of doing some really fun stuff. So
the concept of what's made this album so awesome to us, like I was talking about before, about the kind of like bringing people together, community element, like it's kind of going back to like the whole band symphony of high school idea. You bring everyone together, playing different instruments, and somehow you make the sound together. And it's a kind of like an inspiring thing to witness and to be a part of. So we were thinking, what can we do to bring this to the next step now that we're here? So that's what the next thing. I don't know if we're gonna. Maybe we keep
our Next Jack Swing Part 1 is our second record, and that record was all featured vocalists and featured guests and stuff. So we're taking what we've done with Classically Trained, what we've done with Next Jack Swing Part 1, and we're going to bring it into like a whole nother level next year. So we're getting that in the motion right now.
So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. There's going to be some good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we want to make sure we have time for one more song. So thank you for coming and joining us on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Where can people find you? Where can they download the record, buy the record, get the vinyl, see you on tour?
FrenchHornRebellion.com.
FrenchHornRebellion.com is currently where everything the hubbub is. So make sure to follow, and all that, and then you'll be in touch.
All the different social medias. But Greg, this is a really fun program. Thank you so much for having us. And I don't know if everyone knows, but there's a window to everyone enjoying pizza here.
Pretty good.
So we can.
And we just ate some pizza,
right?
And George and Jacob actually brought us food from Jacob's Pickles. So
they brought some pickles too.
Yeah, we're gonna eat that afterwards. Thank you to Sarah for helping set this up.
Yes,
thank you,
Sarah.
To George and Jacob. And if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to check out our archives, which are all downloadable through iTunes. Thank you, boys, for coming. What are you gonna take us out with?
Well, we're gonna do Fooling Around now.
Oh, perfect.
So we're gonna start with The Right Time. It's the right time to play French Horn Rebellion, and now we're just fooling around and we're gonna eat some pickles.
And make sure to check out the video because it's great.
Thank you. Yes, the two videos are awesome. They're up and available. Follow us on Facebook, all that jazz, and you can get up to date and all that kind of things. So,
well, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Snacky Tunes.
Yeah. Come on. Hey. Yeah. I say, how can I believe it when you're having so much fun? Oh. I said, those lying eyes are women on the run. Yeah, so bring it on, like it's something new. And that's coming on. I say, what are you trying to do? That feeling. What's the reason that you're over? Oh, you make me feeling. Are you looking for a lover? Just your reasons. 'Cause I got a premonition. Strong if you want my reasons. Fooling around with my emotion. It was like a revelation. We were kissing in the sun, and in a moment later, oh, everything we had was done. Adore, and so you bring it on, like it's something new, and then it's coming on. I say, what are you trying to do? What's the reason that you're over? Sure you're looking for a lover. 'Cause I got a premonition, and that you're fooling around with my emotions. said she wanted a bass player. What's the reason that you're over? You keep me real. Are you looking for a lover? Just forget your reasons. Cause I got a premonition. Strong if you want my reasons. Fooling around with my emotions. We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Snacky Tunes is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.